Easiest treasure? Jack Hall Gang treasure. You ever wonder what happens if you chase down a bunch of old outlaw gold from a gang that probably couldn't even spell "Mommy, I love you"? Well, let me show you it in the Jack Hall Gang treasure hunt, which is basically Red Dead's way of saying, hey partner, want to get rich, but with mild inconvenience? You may disagree, but I am still going to say it anyway. This one's the easiest treasure hunt in the game. No grizzly bears, no cliff deaths, no 50-mile rides through hell. You can actually start it early in Chapter 2 when you meet this guy, Maximo Cristobal Valdespino. Yes, the name sounds fancy enough for a man who's selling you a crumpled piece of paper for $10. You can buy it, or, take it the outlaw way. That first map sends you to Caliban's Seat, just south of Valentine, climb some rocks, jump a few gaps, and boom, you find a hole in the granite with your next clue tucked inside. I said easiest is that it's just a nice little cardio session for Arthur. Next stop, Katora Springs. You'll spot a circle of rocks like they're trying to summon a legendary wolf, which, fun fact, might actually be nearby. Grab the treasure in the center and get your third and final map. Now for the finale, O'Crea's Run. Swim or ride out to the island in the middle, lift up a rock, and there it is. 2 gold bars, about $1,000 worth of I told you treasure hunting pays off. Simple, peaceful, and honestly, the best warm-up before the real chaos begins. Medium difficulty tier, high stakes treasure. Now, before we start talking about this next treasure, let me ask all of you gamers dude one thing. Suppose you're riding along and you spot an old dude on a cliff with a map. What you were going to do to him? I mean, you can do many things, like, let me give you an idea. Ask him for directions, rob him like a civilized outlaw but first beat the living hell out of him, hog-tie him and explain later, accidentally run into him so physics does the talking. Well, you can try all these stuffs in the high-stakes treasure, where getting $1,500 means making life choices you'll only half explain to the campfire. First, you gotta find the freaking map. RNG decides your fate. The treasure hunter spawns near Lenora View, north of Strawberry. He's not a social guy. Buy the map? Nope. He gives it up? Also nope. So you have to try any of the things I told you before. Gunpoint, hogtie, or an unplanned mosh pit into a cliff. And when you finally get your hand on the map, then the first place you need to go is to Cumberland Falls. Swim around like an idiot behind a waterfall, climb a fallen tree, and voila, map 2. Try not to do your best impersonation of a drowned raccoon. Next, Barrow Lagoon. Frozen lake, a log bridge that looks like it was built by a drunk beaver, and a treasure tucked in the knot. One slip and Arthur becomes a frozen cautionary tale. Last place in this treasure is Fort Wallace Ledges, squeezes and side quests in vertical parkour. Crouch, jump, drop, repeat, until you find 3 gold bars hidden in a rock crack. Moral of the story? You tortured yourself through waterfalls, ice, and geriatric thievery for 3 gold bars. And somehow, it felt worth it. Medium hard difficulty tier. Landmarks of riches. Next, you ever look at a map in RDR2 and think, yup, this looks like a kid's doodle, but then somehow end up climbing a mountain, crawling into a church roof, and finding 6 gold bars? Well, this is what you are going to do in the Landmarks of Riches, a treasure hunt so confusing it makes IKEA instructions look easy. This wild goose chase starts northwest of Owangila at some weird obelisk sticking out of the ground because, yeah, when I see a giant rock in the middle of nowhere, my brain immediately goes, yup, kick him. Now, in the game, when you touch the rock and boom, you're cursed with your first clue, a drawing of a tiny church in Lakai. After that obelisk nonsense, the next clue takes you straight to a tiny, creepy church in Lakai. Because apparently treasure hunters love picking locations that scream, you're gonna get malaria. The place is surrounded by mosquitoes, swamp fog, and bad decisions. Now, you don't even go inside like a normal person. Nope, you gotta climb up the roof like some kind of broke Spider-Man. Once you're up there, you ring the creepy little bell and there's your next map just chilling there, like it's been waiting centuries for your dumb curiosity. And honestly, by this point you start realizing this treasure hunt isn't about gold anymore. It's about how far Arthur's willing to go before he admits, maybe this map thing was a bad idea. Next up, Mysterious Hill Home, which is basically a hill that decided to cosplay as a house. You climb on top, peek through a crack, and there's another prize. At this point, Arthur's not even treasure hunting, he's just breaking into people's roofs like a rich raccoon with a goal. Then it's off to Bolger Blade, a haunted war zone with dead trees and bad vibes. Your next map's chilling on a slumped log, just far enough away to make you wonder if it's worth the ghost you just pissed off. And finally, Mount Shan. Snowy mountain, freezing wind, and a sundial that looks like nature's attempt at math. Under the 7th hand of the rock clock, you find it. 6 shiny gold bars. You started by touching weird rocks and climbing cursed buildings, but 3 grand later, you're officially the world's most confused millionaire. Medium hard difficulty tier. The Poisonous Trail. Now for the next treasure, picture this. You walk into a random abandoned cabin, and instead of ghosts or bills, you find a treasure map under someone's bed. My brain literally goes, yeah, this seems legit. Let's go dig holes in the wilderness. This is what Rockstar had done in The Poisonous Trail, the only treasure hunt that makes you wish Arthur Morgan had a flashlight, bug spray, and maybe a therapist. This one starts off at Cairn Lake, just east of Coulter. You find this creepy little cabin, and like every good outlaw, your first thought is, let's check under the bed for money. But instead, you will find map 1 and about $10, which is basically Rockstar paying you for emotional damages. The map points to Face Rock in Scarlet Meadows, which is literally a rock that looks like a face. You'll find a dead tree stump beside 2 fallen logs, and somewhere in there is map 2. Just hope the legendary animals nearby don't turn you into a snack while you're sightseeing. Next, head south of Van Horn Trading Post to a rocky mound between Fort Brennard and Van Horn Mansion. It looks like nature tried to bury a secret but ran out of dirt. Check the center ridge, and there it is, map 3. At this point, you've walked through half the state chasing scribbles on paper, but the gold's getting closer. Finally, the grand finale, Elysian Pool. Go behind the waterfall because apparently nothing in this game is ever in front of it. Light up your lantern, crawl through the cave like a lost raccoon, and follow the twists until you find a drop, a pool, and a pile of rocks. Search it, and there it is, 4 gold bars. You just survived a swamp, cliffs, and claustrophobia for 2 grand. Not bad for a day's work or a lifetime of trauma. Hard tier difficulty, Torn Treasure Map.
Lost. Piss off. Go away.
You ever walk into the woods in Red Dead and think, I wonder what would happen if I broke into a crazy old man's house? Yeah, turns out the answer is murder and treasure maps. Welcome to the Torn Treasure Maps, where the rewards are shiny, but the therapy bills would be massive. First stop, Monito Glade, north of Ansburg. There's a male hermit living out there who looks like he hasn't seen another human since the dinosaurs. You knock on his door, and surprise, he tries to kill you. Typical Red Dead hospitality. Once you've handled him, politely or violently, your choice, you can head inside his creepy little cabin. There's not much in there except bad smells and regret. But check the drawer by the armchair. That's where you'll find Torn Treasure Map 1. Unfortunately, it's only half of the map, and you just killed a man for 50% of a puzzle. Now, if that doesn't make you feel morally gray enough, let's go for round 2. The hermit woman out in northwest West Elizabeth near Little Creek River. She's got a cozy little cabin, a few too many dogs, and a personality that screams, I've got bodies buried out back. The second you approach, her dogs will attack like you owe them money. Handle them, which you would know how to, and then get inside. Check the drawer by the bed, boom, Torn Treasure Map 2. Put the 2 halves together and you've got the mended map, the key to one of Red Dead's darkest and most profitable treasure hunts. Once you've pieced together both halves of the torn map, it points you toward Rattlesnake Hollow, just west of Twin Rocks in the northern part of Cholla Springs. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. If you try to go there before the epilogue, an invisible sniper will delete you from existence, like Rockstar saying, not yet, champ. Seriously, you'll drop dead faster than you can say, why can't Arthur just retire? When you finally get there, which means you're playing as John by now, you'll find a small cave entrance tucked into the rocks. It looks harmless, but you know better by now. Every cave in this game has either treasure or trauma. Inside, waiting for you, is the Otis Miller's revolver, a beautiful gold-engraved hand cannon that practically glows with main character energy. And as a bonus, because apparently Otis had interesting hobbies, you'll also find 5 erotic photographs. Yup, the man buried his gun with his nudes. Hard tier difficulty, the Elemental Trail. You ever find a guy hanging off a cliff and think, yeah, I should definitely shoot that rope and loot his corpse? If you would love to do it, then you should go for the Elemental Trail, the treasure hunt that makes you question if you're still treasure hunting or just auditioning for Criminal Minds. This one's pure late-game madness, exclusive to the epilogue. You start down in the far southwest corner of New Austin, near the Sea of Coronado, where some unlucky dude decided gravity wasn't optional. You shoot him down, loot his body, and get Map 1. Totally normal day in Red Dead. The map leads you to an abandoned cabin called Green Hollow, just east of Lake Don Julio. Inside the fireplace, because apparently everyone in this game hides treasure where they cook dinner, you'll find your next clue. Next, you're headed to Benedict Point, south of Tumbleweed. There's a sketchy wooden structure by the train tracks that looks like OSHA's worst nightmare. Climb the boxes, balance on the rickety bridge like your life depends on it, because it does, and grab the stash from a gap halfway across. Congrats, that's Map 2. And then the finale, Coots Chapel, south of Armadillo. It's a graveyard, because of course it is. Crawl around the tombstones until you spot a wooden gravestone under a tree. There's a rock on top of it. Lift it, and there it is, your final treasure. Horse gear, medicine, and 4 gold bars with a side of bragging rights. You looted a corpse, risked tetanus, and robbed a grave, all for about $2,000 and some fancy horse juice. And somehow, that still feels like a win in Red Dead logic.
Hardest tier difficulty. Le Trésor des Morts.
Some treasures make you feel like a genius. This one just makes you question if you accidentally signed up for a French language course. Le Trésor des Morts, the so-called Treasure of the Dead. The name alone sounds like something you find after making several bad decisions. This hunt's not for everyone. Literally. It's locked behind the special and ultimate editions of the game. Rockstar basically said, regular folks get guns and horses, rich folks get existential treasure hunts. And what a ride it is, stretching from Saint-Denis to Tumbleweed, with every clue written in French, just to make you sweat a little harder. The first map sits in Limpany, inside an abandoned jail cell clutched by a corpse. You take it because that's what you do in Red Dead. From there, the trail leads to the Cornwall shipping yard tunnels in Saint-Denis. Head underground, find a wooden crate pressed against a wall, and check behind it for your next clue. Try not to think about how every step feels like a setup for a horror movie. Finally, you end up in the Saint-Denis graveyard, northwest side. There's an open chapel. Go inside, inspect the wall panel, and your patience finally pays off. 6 gold bars. Roughly $2,500 worth of shiny validation. So yeah, after looting bodies, crawling through tunnels, and decoding French like a stressed exchange student, you end up rich and possibly haunted. But yeah, that's the Le Trésor des Morts experience. Confusing, cursed, and totally worth it. But now, I want to hear from you guys. If there's anything you think could make these videos even better, pacing, jokes, editing style, or if you just want to roast my horse riding skills, go for it. Feedback's always welcome here. If you made it this far, you're officially part of the RDR2 gang, so hit that like button, share it with your outlaw buddies, and subscribe if you haven't already. We've got way more chaos, experiments, and dumb ideas coming your way. Alright, that's it for me. I'm off to find another topic that'll probably ruin my mental health. See you guys in the next one.